Path of Exile 2 releases this Friday, and if you either A, tried Path of Exile 1 and did not stick with it for whatever reason, or B, haven't played an action RPG in general before, then Path of Exile 2 is absolutely something that you're going to want to check out. To address the latter first, while Path of Exile does fall under an action RPG category, your idea of its gameplay and content off of the genre name alone probably isn't accurate. Reason being, it's not Dark Souls. Ever since FromSoft's rise to absolute domination over the gaming scene, people associate anytime they hear action RPG immediately with a Souls-like. Big, bad, larger-than-life bosses where you're constantly dodge rolling, imminent death, and trying not to have an aneurysm as you mistime it and get one shot again for the 28th time in a row. Just one more try, man, I promise. On the other hand, Path of Exile and other Diablo-style action RPG... Actually, on second thought, maybe we should move on over to PoE style instead now, huh, boys? While PoE style ARPGs do share some elements of the Souls games, such as the larger-than-life encounters, they are much more accurate to think of as MMOs, but with pretty much all of the tedium stripped away. You're killing monsters, you're getting gear, you're leveling up, you're applying passive points, but you're not doing silly fetch quests, and there's really no traveling across the world for 5 or 10 minutes just to get to your next location, arbitrarily wasting all your time. There's none of that. No skills to mindlessly grind, no resources to gather. It's all about the killing. 100% of Path of Exile's progression revolves around killing monsters. It's that simple. So, if the main reason you enjoy MMOs is their sense of progression, but you're kind of tired of everything else that comes with playing an MMO, Path of Exile is exactly what you're looking for. But Woolie, I actually really like the Souls games, the flow of combat, learning the intricate boss mechanics, and just the general progression of learning these difficult things, then overcoming a big challenge. Guess what? I was talking about Path of Exile 1. You want to know what's happening with PoE 2? Huh? You want to know? Guess what? Dodge rolling. Boom! WASD movement. Boom! A unique boss with completely custom mechanics in each and every single zone that you go in. Boom! Let's go, baby! We playing a top-down Souls-like in Path of Exile 2. Not really, but basically. Let me explain. You see, Path of Exile 2 is essentially taking all of the core systems from Path of Exile 1 and evolving them to better fit its more grounded gameplay while still keeping their original essence intact. The most obvious of this evolution is the combat and movement, which, as I just described, fits the bill perfectly for what most people expect from a modern action game. You're going to be blowing up lesser enemies with ease, but then have to resort to kiting and well-timed dodges to take down anything tougher, with the apex enemies requiring near-perfect understanding of their attacks and movesets before they can be felled. But remember, and the key difference here, you're doing all of that while still experiencing the progression of Path of Exile, not Dark Souls. Itemization and leveling up provide far more interesting and meaningful impacts to your character than in a Souls game, for example. Again, playing Path of Exile is like playing an MMO. So if any and all of that sounds like it might be up your alley, then boom! Path of Exile 2, baby. But Woogie, I already tried Path of Exile 1 and I really tried to get into it, but it was just too confusing, too overwhelming. You had to download all these third-party programs, follow build guides. I didn't really want to do it. Path of Exile 1's biggest problem easily is its new player experience. It's just awful. There's no other way to put it. It's straight up garbanzo beans. I'm a strong believer in that if a game is not fun within the first few minutes of gameplay, if it takes hours to experience it, then that is totally enough grounds to just never touch the game again. But say you did stick around in Path of Exile and then you learned that, holy moly, there are just like 18 trillion systems at once, all interacting with different things, and there's progression around every single little corner. There's just way too much stuff to do. Huh? What's a socket? And a gem? Links? Well, I just leveled up, so let me just relax here for a second and spend this passive point real quick on some nice, easy passive... If that describes your experience with Path of Exile 1 pretty well, well then guess what? Hey, PoE 2 has also got you covered. Path of Exile 2 has taken many steps in streamlining the new player experience. Everything but the passive tree. There still has to be at least one litmus test, right? For example, when you acquire a new skill to use, it won't actually be by just getting the skill itself to drop on the ground or from a quest reward, but rather by acquiring an uncut gem, which allows you to choose any skill that your heart desires, but by default, your choices are limited to the class that you are currently playing. This makes it so that if you choose to play the bow and arrow ranger, for example, when you get a choice of a new skill, you are only going to see the bow and arrow related stuff. However, given that Path of Exile is a game where every class can do everything, nothing, except for your ascendancy, is ever locked behind a different class choice. All you have to do if you do crave that extra customization is to simply toggle this little option in the main menu. Boom! Every single skill in the game, baby! Have fun. Also, unlike in Path of Exile 1, where you have the frustration of dealing with sockets, colors, links, and putting your skill gems in everything. We have to first make sure you have the right number of sockets, then they have to be the right color for your skill gems. Then you have support gems that are slightly different colors. You have to get the other off colors on there. Then you have to make sure the sockets are actually linked together so the support gems are actually affecting the main skill. None of that exists in Path of Exile 2. What's happening is there are still sockets on your gear, but now you're socketing runes into that, which gives you like passive stat bonuses like resistances and a little bit of extra health or something like that. But the gems themselves now drop with sockets on them. And these sockets don't have any colors and don't need to be linked. Guess what? If you get a support gem with 3 sockets, you can socket 3 support gems in it, and they're all going to apply to it. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Beautiful stuff. Now, those changes may seem kind of insignificant at first, but when you really think about it, they remove like all of the tedium and micromanagement associated with your gear. If you get an upgrade off of the ground, you can just slap it onto your character without thinking. Anyway, all I'm trying to say with everything I've just talked about is regardless of your experience or lack thereof with Path of Exile 1, you're gonna want to give Path of Exile 2 a shot. I've been playing this game since 2013, and boys, let me tell you, there is a reason I've stuck around this long. There is no other game on the market that truly scratches the itches that Path of Exile does. In fact, it's pretty much ruined every other RPG out there for me. All of the build variety and the customization and the loot drops, everything is done so well that I just can't help but compare every other game that has loot and leveling up and skill trees, even if it's not an RPG necessarily. Everything gets compared to Path of Exile because it's that good. And for you new players out there, Path of Exile is known as a hard to learn and hard to master game, and I truly believe that what we've seen from the reveals for Path of Exile 2, they have been really focusing on the new player experience, cutting down on all of the complexity, but retaining 100% of the depth. Path of Exile 1 has had a notoriously high development standard, and I expect nothing less here with Path of Exile 2 as well. Anyway, I'm going to be making a ton of Path of Exile 2 content, mainly unga bunga, melee, big boy, hammer, bonk stuff. So if that tickles your fancy, then go ahead and leave a comment below. Let me know what kind of content specifically you want to see from me. Consider subscribing to the channel as well, of course. Also, you can check out my stream at twitch.tv/Woolie Gaming if you want to see me play the game live. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.